of our country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, great. I'd like to welcome everyone this evening to the first Planning Commission meeting for February. Going to go ahead and start right off. Any announcements this evening?
No, sir,
Staff?
not at this time.
Okay, do we have any
Oh, no, sorry.
Perfect. So no announcements. I see we have no presentations. Any agenda changes?
No, sir, not at this time.
Sounds like it may be on now.
Am I on now?
There we go.
There we go.
Perfect. Okay. So no agenda changes. So the approval of the minutes from the January 26th, 2026 meeting. You've all had those submitted. Any errors or omissions to the minutes as presented? No. Okay. That being said, do we have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the January 26, 2026 minutes approved as submitted.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve as submitted. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. Any other discussion? No? Okay. All those in favor of approving the January 26th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting minutes as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Minutes approved as submitted. Okay. I'm sorry. Any old agenda items? Doesn't look like we have any. No new agenda items, so we're rolling right along this evening. So we do have two public hearings this evening. First is going to be consideration of a text amendment to the parking ordinance, section 909, off-street automobile parking. And I'm going to turn that over to staff.
It's okay. Your packet, we'll go to the parking first. If that's
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Alrighty.
I was just looking at what's on the screen, so.
Understood. It's okay. Okay. So we currently have language that we've placed before you in the packet. You'll see that inside of the staff report is very similar to what we've identified and spoke of during the conversation we had last. We have proposed, I guess we had conversation where there'll be I guess up to 5 standard parking spaces will give us 5 golf cart parking. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, let's see if the PowerPoint has.
So
Okay.
what I guess one point, I should have started that off with the public hearing, and I apologize. So let's actually back it up and do it as we should. And I apologize. So since they are public hearings, let me go ahead and do that first. I'm going to read the public hearing procedure. So when the public hearing is open, members of the Planning Commission will become hearers. No action for their part is in order until the chairperson declares the hearing complete. The chairperson will allow each side equal opportunity to the floor. Individual members of the public will be given up to 5 minutes to state their case. First, city staff will present the request and provide an assessment of compliance with city code. Next, those supporting the issue will be heard, which includes the applicant. Then those opposing the issue will be heard. Prior to closing the public hearing input portion of the meeting, city staff and the public will be given the opportunity to ask questions of either or both sides of the issue. When the chairperson is assured that the input is complete, the public hearing shall be ended, and the Planning Commission may then debate the issue and render a decision. All speakers from the public are asked to follow these rules. 1, come to the microphone and state your name and neighborhood prior to making remarks. 2, keep remarks under 5 minutes, and please do not repeat others' comments. And 3, address all comments to the chairperson. Thank you. Now I will go ahead and turn it back over to staff. I apologize.
No, my apologies. Thank you for that. So again, we mentioned this during our last meeting. We spoke in regards to how the golf cart parking would align to the current zoning requirements. And so it was recommended to have the 5 standard parking replace 5 golf cart parking as a suggestive way of doing that. And you'll see that the attached code is redlined to give you more in depth as to what was amended. So if you go to pages, I believe that to be pages 4 through 8, gives you more in depth of what's changed since we've last spoken of that packet. And so you'll see that we spoke about the parking width. I did confirm that that's one area that we'll need to look a little further into. I will be reaching out to one of our golf cart businesses to kind of give me a little bit more help with that measurement and alignment so that we won't over or under measure there. So I will say, I know it's open for public hearing tonight, but I think staff is still in a preliminary phase, particularly for the parking component, because we're just still needing a little bit more time to understand how this new code is going to be regulated for us, as there is no other city who has this parking requirement. So we're figuring out as we go. Again, so the next item, of course, we're ensuring that it's meeting the ADA requirements as well. I think that was mentioned at the last meeting. Again, it's mentioning parallel parking and things of that nature. So that's what we were doing for the golf cart parking and confirming measurements for that. Next, we looked at the parking requirements for each slab, for each use, I mean. And so Laura and I are still thinking that we need to spend a little bit more time there. One thing that we decided that we wanted to do was have conversations with other cities that have done such with their parking. I think we're still in kind of a place where we're not certain as to what parking requirements, how they've changed with the different uses. Commissioner Haverson, I cannot say your name, I apologize. You mentioned to me that the, I guess, the market that you're in, you've identified that parking has changed there as well. So we're just needing a little bit more time to figure that piece out for parking. We're not 100% certain there as of yet. So this one is still kind of in the air, asking for us to get just a little bit more time on that for that parking table as well. And that's pretty much where we are, is still trying to do reviews on that, but opening it up for more discussion so that you can tell us as to whether this direction that you're seeing in red line is going in a direction that you desire. And again, you see the bicycle parking, that was not in there before it either in 909.8, but we've added that to ensure that there's parking racks for parking. That was something suggested, but it wasn't listed in this attachment as it is now. So just wanting to see your thoughts here on the red line, to see are we going in the right direction so that we can bring you something a little bit more solid during our next meeting.
Okay, so I guess a question then, before we get into any further discussion, to make sure we're all on the same page. So since this is in for a public hearing, typically we would go ahead and give a recommendation as to city council as to whether or not it's approved or denied. So with the extra work that still needs to be accomplished, as you're saying, I guess my question would be, what would be the best course of action in that regard?
So you may recall a past text amendment, we've had it at a public hearing phase. We've allowed for public hearing. We've, as far as staff, or if planning commission has asked for there to be a deferment of more time, you can still allow for there to be more time if you defer it. The public hearing still stands, because as long as we open the floor for public comments, we've had the public comments.
I just want to make sure we're all good with that. Yeah.
Of course, yes,
Okay,
and you can
perfect.
open it back up for public hearing again if you would like to.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay.
So that's where we are. We're just asking for a little bit more time for deferment until
Sure.
the next meeting.
Okay. So let's go ahead and, like I said, since this is a public hearing, do we have anyone in attendance who would like to step up and speak for the supporting the issue? If you please come up to the microphone and state your name and your neighborhood.
Good evening, Planning Commission. My name's Keith Larson. I live in Sandown Creek, Peachtree City. I've been a long-time pedestrian and bicycle advocate and working on these very issues. And Kenneth, you recall our work on the West Village overlay, where we updated language for bicycle and cart parking. So I want to address this. This is a doable problem, and I have offered to the city staff my services as a city resident, no charge. I do everything for free. And I want to help make Peachtree City the best place to live for micromobility. And there are community standards across the nation for both bicycle parking and cart parking. First of all, I want the topic, cart parking. Peachtree City changed our ordinances for operations of motorized carts over 10 years ago. It's no longer golf cart parking because a golf cart, according to the Georgia Code, only resides on a golf course. When it leaves and operates in your city, our city, it's a motorized cart or a personal transport vehicle. So we should update that term of reference. We've grown up using golf cart because we got a lot of them. They were converted club cars or whatever. But that's what the real term is. So last year, anticipating this and the requirements for the UDO, while I was on the tag, we developed a cart parking scheme, the size, the width, the length, based on the current models of motorized carts and low-speed vehicles operating in our city today. If you ever go out in front of City Hall, there's some spaces marked, and many times those multi-passenger vehicles exceed the length of the lines, and you can see it all over. So we have that. Not only that, we reached out to the U.S. Access Board and developed for the first community in the nation an ADA accessible parking space for a cart. We have those templates available. And Kenneth, I've shared those with you before. So I think we need we just need to cross-communicate here, because I think we got some blockages here, or we just, where the dots are, okay? So that's enough for carts, but we do have stuff available. I have studied and got the database on where these things are today, because that was some of your questions last meeting. So today we have the West Village overlay. We have Lexington Village. We have Crosstown Breland. And we also have the new 54 West developments, which have large stipulated cart and bicycle parking requirements. Now, they're not uniform, and especially for implementation, for example, the West Village, when we were looking at the, 2 years ago, the West Village document to update, I provided data to the Planning Council that we were running only about 10% compliance as far as when permits were pulled for building construction or renovation, that cart spaces or bicycle racks were installed. The worst case in point was the rebuild of the Walmart after it burned. They did a great job for EV, electric vehicles, and carts, but they didn't install a single bike rack. And right next to it, Camden Village, they don't even have enough racks for their apartments to store all the bikes that they have in their apartment multi-use family residency. So when we talk about bicycle parking, I think we need to talk about two types. There's short-term parking when people go to a destination for shopping, recreation, school, etc. And long-term parking, we might talk about, and this is a common term, for commercial businesses like employees. So they're commuting to work, and it would be a sheltered offering that would shield the bikes from the weather. That's just, that's what other communities are doing in terms of bicycle parking. There's also the essentials of bike parking, the racks to use and the racks not to use. Now, we gave a citation to this in the West Village overlay, but this would be something, if we put citations of standards that we'd expect to be implemented in Peachtree City for best practices, this could be something that could be cited and then provided when permits are requested or design specifications from the planning office. So that's all of that, and so I look forward to this discussion in our community to develop, because we can do better. There are standards available, and I can provide those to the city staff, both for form-based, because that's what we do. We do form-based zoning and development, so we can do that. Thank you.
I appreciate that, thank you. And I know that when we were looking at the 54 West, I know you did provide a lot of information, and one of the things that came up, and I know we talked about it at the time, was hoping to incorporate more of that into the UDO that would cover the entire city, and not just specific overlay districts. So, that's something definitely we can still take in consideration, but I think let me get make sure I got anything else. So, any no, I appreciate it. Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and so the other thing that I really think is we need, because our city is moving into the redevelopment phase, that we need to have language that triggers legacy properties to consider or incorporate these standards. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Can I just add on real quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mr. Larson, just to confirm, you did send obviously some materials in the past directed towards the Unified Development Ordinance Steering Committee. You sent, just to give everybody some context in terms of what was specifically sent for that. Back in, let me pull up the date right here, April 14th, 2025, so we're going on about a year ago, but we still got it. A zoning update to Appendix A on this, and I'm not gonna go through every single detail, but the general gist of it is about updating at a city level a minimum of 1 parking space for each residential unit within a development, and then it goes into detail in terms of the size of that vehicular parking space, 9 feet by 18 feet, and then also additionally, this is important for what we're talking about right now, a recommendation for golf cart parking spaces shall measure no less than 6 feet by 10 feet, is what you had sent in the past. And then there was another component as well about what you had sent about electrical charging stations, which again I know is not the topic for right now, but we'll talk about it more in the UDO.
Right.
But just for everybody's reference on that, there is some the recommendations in terms of the way how charging stations should be set up, but also locations for golf cart park, and the way that it would also work with golf cart parking, and having potential stations around those areas as well.
Yeah. I remember we touched on those back then, and like I said, I remember it was thought of, maybe the UDO would be the best vehicle to go ahead, and then we knew the transportation, group also was working on some things and trying to pull that all together. So I think we're getting to the point where things are starting to mesh a bit, or
Yep.
going to mesh a bit, so that's about what we expected, so that's good. Well, let's go ahead and, do we have anyone opposing the issue? Want to make sure. Okay, we have no one opposing the issue. Other than that, I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment period. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the commissioners to go ahead and ask questions of staff, or if Mr. Larson would like to go ahead and answer any questions too, that is definitely experienced in that area. So, Commissioner Gantt, any?
No question.
Any
Just
questions?
want to thank Mr. Larson for coming and volunteering his time and his expertise.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I have a question of staff and I guess the board, also the council. We discussed this, the parking, the golf cart spots, the number of, and we came up with 5. And I don't know why, when I was reading through this over the weekend, I wondered if it wouldn't be easier to be a percentage of spaces based on, because why have 5 if you've got 5,000 car spots? You should probably have more. And why have 5 if you only have 7 car spots? So I was just thinking, we had not discussed that last time. As far as the
That's a good point.
bicycles go, I think it's a fantastic idea. I living in DC for 7.5 years, bikes, not the mopeds, but the scooters, I used them all the time, and it was great to have a place to put them when I got to work or got back to the apartment. So I've never heard anybody speak so eloquently on the topic, but I totally agree with everything you said.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we, again, those were some of the things that came up, we really, I mean, for the first time, we really started talking about those. I mean, I know several of the commissioners, like I said, when we were reviewing the 54 West, and those were exactly some of the same questions was, you know, especially coming to bicycles, because we really hadn't thought of that until it was kind of brought up, and it's like, okay, well, great, we could put a bicycle rack, but then it came to what type of bicycle rack, and you know, the bicycle racks that we had in some of the places, well, those aren't really the best. So what are some good ones, and then ones that actually look good and are functional, you know, and then the question did come up as to, well, what about storage, you know, especially in certain areas. So we've touched on those items, but never really, like I said, got into any really good detail in trying to put something together in an ordinance so far.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Can I speak to
absolutely.
the storage piece?
Sure.
In Europe and in DC, storage space, what they do is they've got these very large boxes about the width of that right there, tall enough for any bike to go in and deep enough for any bike. And you get a code, and there's like 20 spots to slide a bicycle in, and then lock it back up. You have the code to get in and out. That's an option we could look into.
Perfect. Thanks. Commissioner Chris?
So, I mean, I have some comments. I don't have any questions.
Okay. Well, let's roll with the questions, and then we'll
Okay.
come back again.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Sounds good.
Commissioner Halverson, any questions?
No.
No? Okay. Commissioner Hamner?
Yes, I have a question for you, Mr. Larson. So, obviously, you are an expert in this area. You know, you put a ton of time and volunteered yourself a lot to really just, you know, anything transportation related in the city. I guess my question to you is, you know, given what you've seen so far that we've talked about as a group with this amendment and regarding parking and things like that, what do you think are the strengths that we're talking about right now, and what constructive feedback would you have in terms of what we're discussing right now in terms of the details?
Well, the strength is you're having the conversation. And the first step of any 12-step process is you got to recognize you got a problem. And I see frequently, even in front of City Hall, kids throwing their bikes all over the place, especially these new e-motos. Okay? And looking at how micromobility has changed over the last 10 years with electric motors, powers, battery storage. People are scooting around on all kinds of things on wheels to get to their destinations. And so, I mean, from a public safety and appearance, quality of life perspective, nobody wants to walk across the avenue shopping or some other plaza and trip over a scooter. Nobody wants to. And it's unsafe. And so the good approach from a community, from stewardship, is to have a common means frequently available for people to secure their ride at their destination point and return. And interesting from an economic perspective, those locations, and there are studies that show that development shopping that has these has a higher gross rate of return from frequency of visitors, etc., because people find it convenient to go. You know, people complain about cars and traffic, 5474 being the nth, but you can avoid all that by going on our pass system because we've been able to push it out. So far, you can get to almost every corner of the city now by alternate means. And that's a tremendous offload of traffic. Probably at least 10% of the destination trips made in Peachtree City today are by alternate means. And that's a great thing for us and a great way to stimulate local businesses as well, because the people, instead of jumping in the car and driving to Coweta County to go shopping or Fayetteville, they're shopping local. So I think we want to encourage that. So it's about grappling with the change of technology terms, like, for example, shifting from golf cart to motorized cart and low-speed vehicle. We embrace how people are doing it now. What are they driving? And so they feel included in the conversation. And also for developers and property owners, they recognize, you know, what our residents need. So on bicycle parking, you're going in the right direction. we have to address both short-term, i.e. just destination trips, shopping, recreation, going to school, and long-term, i.e. commuters. People are commuting to work and staying a long time in phrase. So, or they reside in multifamily developments like apartments, and apartment rules say they can't store it in their apartments, and that's a real factor because there's been a problem with lithium batteries burning, you know, and so that actually there's a Consumer Product Safety Commission ruling for some of those manufacturers on that. So, yeah, so we wanna help our property owners, both commercial and private, succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm gonna pose the question to staff, and like I said, you can see and hear that we've touched on this, you know, for the last few years. Would we be able to go ahead? Is it okay if we go ahead and have Mr. Larson provide the information over? I know he's been on the Transportation Advisory Group. I don't know if you're still on that or not. Okay, I know you had been in the past. I know we have copies of it, but it would probably be good to have staff have his information also if you don't already.
Sure, you can share the
Okay.
information.
I think that would be good because I think twofold. One, again, to take a look at this, and maybe we need to do and take a look at changing terminology. Maybe golf cart isn't the right term to use anymore, even though we have golf cart tags and signs sitting right out in front of City Hall. But maybe it is time to go ahead and change as we work through not only this, but also the UDO and things like that. Let's bring it up to the current standards. So I think it may be a good opportunity to get that information over and take a look at it, because I know we touched on it back then, was the ADA compliance and how the parking spots that are set up right now for golf carts are not ADA compliant. You know, we've seen major changes in our paths that are being basically rebuilt, bringing them to ADA standards now. So I think it's important that we all take a look at that. And I'm sure there's a few other locations that we probably need to consider that, not just, of course, parking, but it's in some other terminologies throughout the ordinances. So I think it's probably good. So if you're able to go ahead and provide that information to all of us, that would be great. And we can take that and see what we can do to incorporate some of that. It'd be perfect. I think it's probably a perfect opportunity to start touching on some of that then.
Yes, I'd be happy to do that, Chair. And if you have any other questions, I'm listening. I'll be happy to try to address those questions as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and Commissioner Hamner, comments.
Mr. Larson, thank you for coming out tonight and offering your expertise on all this. It's really helpful.
Commissioner Halverson, comments?
No comments.
No. Commissioner Chris.
Okay. So, I have a few different things I want to talk about. First and foremost, I think Commissioner Allen's suggestion of looking into percentages versus actual numbers is a good one, because we have many different sizes of commercial spaces here in Peachtree City. So, you know, I shop very often at the Kedron Kroger, and they have 8 golf cart parking spots, and that's not enough sometimes. So I think that's excellent. What I'd love to see maybe from staff, if possible, is, you know, what's the average number of spaces that we have at all of our commercial properties in the city, because that might help us determine what a appropriate percentage would be. 'Cause I think we could throw out percentages today, but it might not be helpful to just without any data behind the reasoning. Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
I'm a little confused, I'm sorry. So you
I'd
say
love,
the
I'd love
average,
to know, like, of all the properties, commercial properties here in Peachtree City, what is the average number of parking spaces that's required for them?
the use is, your parking is based on uses. So
Yeah.
the uses vary. So we wouldn't be able to calculate it that way, because you may have commercial in some, but then office, all sharing parking. So we would have to, that would be possible, it just would be lengthy, which means it wouldn't be something I can have for you at the very next
okay,
meeting.
I think I understand. Yeah, okay. Because, you know, if I say 5%, I mean, I know some of the plans that we've looked at have only had something like 30
Yeah,
spaces.
they wouldn't be able to do
So
anything.
5%
with that,
wouldn't really be great. So my suggestion would be we have a minimum, you know, you're allowed to do 5, but up to, maybe you say up to 10%, something like that. A minimum of 5 spaces you're allowed to substitute, but a maximum of up to 10% of the spaces. That would be my suggestion then, without knowing what that average number is throughout the city. I think that might address the concern there. I think it's a good one. The second thing I think is important that we should talk about, and I'm interested in my fellow commissioners' opinions on this, is that do we want to separate the bicycle parking issue from the rest of this? And the reason I ask that is because the way I read the wordage that's in here now is not that it actually requires bicycle parking, is that it just allows it. Do you agree with that, staff? And so, you know, I think when I hear some of the comments up in the dais here today, I think I'm hearing, you know, folks being supportive of an actual requirement when there's either development or redevelopment, and I think that may have more, that would be more controversial than golf cart parking, and so I think at least in my opinion, and once again I'm interested in.
Well, I
others.
thought
Yeah.
during our last meeting that we did request it to be separated.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I was surprised when I saw it in here and thought it just got overridden. But I thought we did request to have the bicycle parking removed from this and given its own home.
So that request came directly from City Council
To keep it in here.
to have it in there.
Okay.
So that was a request we received from council, so that's why it's in there.
I mean, so we could go forward with this, but I think, you know, from what I'm hearing, I would rather see language that requires
Okay.
bicycle parking
Okay.
for new commercial developments and for any redevelopment of commercial space, or, you know,
So require
Non-residential.
bicycle parking, but allow for a golf cart to be
substituted. Yeah,
meaning they could decide if they want to add, but not required.
that's correct. Yeah, it's not required. I think it will still be, as I imagine it, it will still be something that we would consider as a commission when someone comes forward to us, and we might ask why they haven't provided golf cart parking. At least I know I would. But yeah, I think a mandatory golf cart parking doesn't exactly make sense, because not every property, at least not every commercial property that we see coming before us, is well connected to the paths. So I don't think it makes sense to have it mandatory. However, I do think it may be helpful to have bicycle parking as mandatory.
requirement.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, what we can do, I mean, if we're kind of bound to keep it as part of this, I mean, we can definitely expand on section 909.8 and add quite a bit more. Because right now, all it says is bicycle parking shall be provided only at a designated bicycle rack. So we can definitely expand that out to bicycle parking and storage, and then have a subsection under parking, have a subsection for storage. However, we want to go ahead and kind of roll out those requirements if we're not able to keep it as a separate item.
Would that be in this section or a separate section?
Well, right now, we're kind of
Hands are tied.
being told that it needs to stay in here, so we would have to keep it in here, but then again, expand on exactly what is, I mean, we could change it, instead of just bicycle parking, it could be bicycle parking and storage, or it could be section 909.9, which would be bicycle
Okay.
storage, and 908 would be bicycle parking, whatever makes the most sense.
So we would do that at a later date? We would push this, we'd recommend this to go
Well,
forward?
if we have any recommendations, now would be the time to go ahead and do it. I mean, we're gonna go ahead and defer it because there's more work that needs to be done on it.
I see.
But if we have recommendations, you know, we can make some, and then once, you know, Mr. Larson goes ahead and gives the information also, it may come back, and then we have some more specifics as to some of the things that are coming from, you know, either other locales or other, you know, jurisdictions where they have this and it's been successful. So I don't think we have all the information we need, but if we
Right.
do have some thoughts as to what we might want to see, now would be the time to go ahead and make that recommendation.
I think the bicycle parking should be a requirement. I think the storage, the large grand storage, should be an option, because not everybody's gonna use it. But I agree that we don't have enough information to sit here and make a recommendation other than that.
Sure.
Agreed.
So Commissioner Cruz, I was thinking about if I was a developer and trying to take advantage of this golf cart parking option.
Yeah.
The way you could leverage it is if you didn't have enough landscape coverage. So you could actually reduce the amount of size of your parking by swapping it out for golf cart parking and then adding landscape back in to get your coverage back in. So I think the more flexibility that we're providing and thinking of other areas of the code
It's actually good.
is great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, makes sense.
That's a good point.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Agreed.
the increasing the percentage of option of the golf cart parking from 5 to 10 or even
Yeah, up to
15
10%.
or
yeah.
whatever
You
whatever
say-
we think is best,
Yeah.
as long as they take advantage of it from a landscape point of view, which they theoretically should.
Yeah,
Would be a
make-
good thing.
Makes sense. That's a good point.
Commissioner Allen?
Mr. Larson, can I borrow you for a second? Up here? If you come up here for real quick, just because I might be speaking, preaching to the choir. Okay. These or something similar were all over Europe,
Yes,
and they were at commuter locations.
Right, right, and those are becoming more frequent at transit hubs and also long-term storage at rental
Yeah.
properties. So, but I did want to address your question about whether we should or should not have mandatory cart parking. Right now, because of the proliferation of our network, we only have a handful of businesses that are isolated on State Route 54 and 74 that are not connected to a neighborhood street where carts are allowed to operate, or a path, only a handful. So I think that what you might say, consider, is an exception rule. If you are on a neighborhood street or connected to the path, you shall offer car parking. And I think that, right now, the ratio based on the width of the carts would be 3 carts for every 2 standard parking spaces, for your consideration. So there's your trade-off right there. And if you have a form-based development that is calculating based on the number of employees and visitors, that number can be known.
I'd love to
Thank you.
require it, but I know how the developers come in front of us and they don't really love that part of the discussion, so.
Well,
Yeah.
that's an interesting point. So,
Yeah.
last fall you had, or last year you had, Jackson Brown bring in 54 West, and they voluntarily did that. And they're developing many of the large, developments in the community in the area, and they're lead-led organization. So they're looking for the micromobility connections.
Yeah, this is the 7 building proposal, right?
It's on 54
Yeah,
East,
yeah.
correct? Yep.
Yeah, I didn't like where they put them, but yeah, they did put a few in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing else from me.
Okay. Commissioner Gant, comments?
I just have some curiosity to educate myself. I understand pretty well all the discussion about the golf cart or other motorized vehicles, but on the bicycle, I'm a little bit cloudy in terms of, is there an issue or is there a problem that we're trying to address, and what is that issue and problem?
I think.
And how bad the problem is, and then, or is it just a issue of there's great demand out there? So I'm just trying to understand.
I think to a certain
Okay.
extent, it is. I agree with Mr. Larson. It is if we build it, they will come. If we build bicycle parking, if we build someplace at Harris Teeter or what is it, Trader Joe's, where people can park their bikes, throw some stuff in their basket, and go, they will, rather than deal with that.
So it's our
horrendous
desire
parking.
to stimulate.
To stimulate
Okay.
and take care of the neighbors, the residents that do ride their bikes. I mean, those electronic bikes are raging all over the place now.
I just wouldn't want to require something that there's no
And we really haven't, and it really surprised me when I first moved here and then became a member of the planning commission, that we really didn't have a lot of details and specifics on golf carts.
Right.
Other than the ordinance, well, you have to have them tagged. You know, we have the path system, but when it came to developments, there wasn't a lot of information, which really surprised me because we are a golf cart community or electric cart, you know, community, but there wasn't really a lot out there. So that really is what kind of spurred when we started looking at things, going, well, we need to do something. We don't know what it is yet, but we need to do something. And we just don't want it really for this location. We would like to have it for the entire city. Now, each separate location, they may have their own little nuances as to maybe how it's set up and what it looks like. Maybe that's part of the phase 2 of the UDO to give them a little bit of character. But we really didn't have anything in place. And the same thing with bicycles. You might see a bike rack here or there, but there was never really anything set up for that. And again, you go back to the path system and say, well, why didn't we? You know, why don't we have, you know, the big storage opportunities at Drake Field, or at, you know, Battery Way, or at something where people can come and enjoy things and have bicycle parking, whether that's city or whether that goes back to businesses to do it. We just haven't had anything. So we're taking steps. It's just kind of baby steps, and we're building as we kind of go along. So again, I think it's important. Yeah, we're having that discussion, which is great. You know, now we need to start putting the details behind it and come up with something that makes sense. So, and the more information, like I said, more information we get, the better it's going to be. We're not the only place in the country that has golf carts, but we're the unique place for the most part in Georgia. Other jurisdictions do have them, but ours are special. But there are other states that have golf carts, other cities in other states that have golf carts. So, you know, what do they do? What's kind of the standards? And that's what I'm hoping, you know, Mr. Larson will be able to help provide as we kind of go forward. So,
What does staff need for this?
so yeah, I think that's a good question. So, what do you need from us at this point? I mean, we've had a lot of discussion, and there's, you know, I hate to say it's probably got a little bigger
it's
than
grown
what
bigger
we
than
thought, but
expected.
it's one of those where do we go in and make it, I don't want to say the best we can, but make it the best we can off the bat, or at least try to, or do we go in and say, okay, well, here's what we have, and then we'll have another text amendment down the road to add to it, and another text amendment down the road, and I hate piecing things together if we don't have to.
I would say from staff's perspective, I know I asked for more time, but I think I'm going to need to speak with city leadership first a little bit
Okay.
more to see what direction we're going in with it, because I can tell
Sure.
you it's growing bigger than I think we may have expected.
I agree, yeah.
And so I would more than likely talk to the city manager, see which direction, you know, maybe we need another month, if not longer, just
Okay.
to figure out how to draft that. We have the UDO starting up soon, a different number of projects, and it's just the two of us. So
I know.
we're figuring that out. So I'll speak with the city manager and figure that out. I think what we need from now is just more time.
Okay.
Definitely not a meeting this month, if possibly maybe March 23rd as an option, which is
Okay.
a month from
Month and a half, yeah.
a month and a half.
Sure.
Just to give it a little bit more time, because we will have to study other organizations and their codes to see how some of that aligns. I know other cities may have golf carts, but they're not inside of their parking code. So
Exactly.
those are things we're having to create. It's
Yep.
not a challenge. It's just going to take a little bit more time
Sure.
than a week or two.
And I think, you know, utilizing the expertise that we have from you know, citizens, the Transportation Advisory Group, you know, whatever, you know, we would be more than
And-
happy to help, I'm sure, whatever we can,
Yeah.
just based upon our experiences and things that we've talked about over the last few years. But yeah, I think we would really like to try to make it the best we can be right
Absolutely.
from the very beginning, for we don't have to
Absolutely.
come back and address it a couple times.
Absolutely. And I
So-
can share it, reach out to the TAG group to see their thoughts and inputs as well. Because
Okay.
they've played some part in the past of
Sure.
parking. So we'll go from there.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion?
Do you want us to agree upon a percentage as a group, so that you
Sure.
have some guidance from us?
Sure. That would be great.
I actually really like the 15%.
Well, it's optional, so
Yeah.
it's giving you a threshold that
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any disagreement with that? Up to 15%?
15% was for which? For the bike,
Golf cart.
the golf carts?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, for the motorized,
Motorized.
not
Yes.
always used as
Carts.
golf carts.
That's right. Yeah, we should standardize that terminology too.
I think it's a good time to do that.
Yeah.
I
Sometimes
agree.
mini race cars.
Yeah.
If I'm driving it.
Go karts, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I think there's agreement and up to 15%. Okay, great.
Good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's important as as we all see the proliferation of the e-bikes. I know there's been issues, and there will still be issues with them. Unfortunately, and you're going to have that no matter what you have, whether it's a motorized cart or whatever, or an e-bike. But I do see a lot more. I mean, I've actually considered getting one myself. To be out and do more hills on the north side of Peachtree City than I used to be able to do. So I think we're going to see more and more of that going forward, which is great. So let's whatever we can do to take those into consideration.
We have two. We use them.
Yeah. So I think it's important that we do that. So yeah, I think we're a little larger, a little bigger than what we first envisioned. So and that's okay. I don't think that's an issue. It's just, we need some additional time and give you all some additional time to talk to the council and city manager, and then, let us know what their thoughts are also.
Okay.
Director Reed, could you do one thing for us as well in your research?
Of course.
When you're looking at other areas around the country that are parking golf carts, can you do the research on if it's required? In other words, if they have a minimum requirement that's in addition to the standard parking? Because what we're talking about today is an option. It doesn't say a business is required to park X number of golf carts in
Right.
addition to vehicles, right?
So the research we found so far is that when you're looking at parking for golf carts, they're giving dimensions, width, so forth. They're not getting counts.
Right.
They're not getting to how much. That's what we're creating that I think I haven't seen as of yet. But we'll keep looking. Suggestive language that I'm working with a golf cart company now on.
Right.
They're helping us with a lot of that information right now, so that we'll speak to someone who's familiar with the sizing and things of that. But the count, I will say it makes sense for the 10 to 15%. I just know that the larger the site, and I think we'll probably also have to define where they're going to go, because if you're going to say 10 to 15% is in one isolated space, that doesn't help. So we need to kind of identify, is that per store, like is it per every X amount of door fronts, things of that nature. We need to kind of be creative in that language so that it can be spread out. Because if you look at Kedron, for example, Kedron is a very large development. So if you start off with Kroger, and if we're requiring it, don't require where, Target and so forth may not have parking. So we need to be mindful of that.
And that's a great point, because that ties in to another subject, of course, which isn't addressed this evening, but that was charging stations for EVs. And, we, again, don't have anything in place for those. So you see several throughout the city. There's no specifics where they're at. There's no design requirements for them. There's no anything. And that's something, again, that will need to be addressed at some point in time. But we need to think of things like that. And I think that's a very good point, and thank you for that. That we do want to go ahead and take the site into consideration when we're putting these together. And remember also, this is going to be just for new development as well as redevelopment. So this will not affect any existing that won't be going through. But we all know, as it's been brought up, that we're going to see more redevelopment than development, at least in the near future. So still have an opportunity to make some positive changes. Okay.
Yep.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Absolutely.
Regarding the percentage that you're talking about, is that of the required amount of spaces or
Yeah, it's a
percentage of
substitution.
what they're providing?
No. It's just the way we envisioned it originally was that it was going to be a substitution of what was required. Yeah.
Because some developments actually provide additional, they go above and beyond what's required sometimes. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would be based on what is actually required per the development ordinance.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how we envisioned it.
Okay.
one more thing to discuss. You know, I know this, the city manager is very busy, but you know, once this goes through, I'd love for the city manager or the city in general to approach existing commercial properties and ask if they're willing to comply with what we have on the books now, right? Or when we pass this, if they would be willing to offer some. So I think that might be an interesting conversation to really spur, you know, the conversation about the utilization of alternate means of transportation to get around the city. You know, we have this wonderful path system. Why do a lot of our commercial spaces not offer golf cart parking? So, and it's not something that's really relevant to what we're talking about today, but I'd love to see more conversation around that.
Good point. Okay, so we have to go ahead and make a recommendation. So do we have a recommendation, and we're looking to defer it to, you want March 23rd?
That would be great.
Okay. So do we have a motion to recommend deferral until March 23rd?
I so move.
Well, can we have a motion?
I
Yes.
make a motion to defer it to March 23rd.
Okay. Okay, great. So we have a motion to defer until March 23rd.
Second.
We have a second. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of recommending deferral until March 23rd signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Deferred until March 23rd. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so we have our second public hearing, and since it's separate, I will actually read the public hearing procedures again just to make sure everyone is good. Okay, when the public hearing is open, members of the Planning Commission will become hearers. No action on their part is in order until the chairperson declares the hearing complete. The chairperson will allow each side equal opportunity to the floor. Individual members of the public will be given up to 5 minutes to state their case. First, city staff will present the request and provide an assessment of compliance with city code. Next, those supporting the issue will be heard, and that includes the applicant. Then those opposing the issue will be heard. Prior to closing the public hearing input portion of the meeting, city staff and the public will be given the opportunity to ask questions of either or both sides of the issue. When the chairperson is assured that input is complete, the public hearing shall be ended, and the Planning Commission may then debate the issue and render a decision. All speakers from the public are asked to follow these rules. 1, come to the microphone and state your name and neighborhood prior to making remarks. 2, keep remarks under 5 minutes, and please do not repeat others' comments. And 3, address all comments to the chairperson. Thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that over to staff for the public hearing on the text amendment, to consider a text amendment to the lighting ordinance, specifically section 731.2 of the land development ordinance.
Yes, sir. So originally, during our last discussion, we spoke in detail regarding the language. I know we had a lot of conversations about the last sentence. You're seeing there the same type of lighting and so forth. I received some great assistance in the language to ensure that you all, your recommendations were being adhered to with this language you're seeing before you now. And so using the comments from the last meeting and also kind of sharing it with someone who's helped with that, was wondering your thoughts on how that language works for you all.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and open that up. Do we have anyone in the audience in favor of supporting the issue?
My name's Keith Larson again. I live in Sandown Creek, and I'm in favor of this proposed amendment. It makes sense. From an appearance, you go into a commercial development area, you would expect uniform lighting of the same color. To the resident, the technology that delivers that, not an issue. That certainly is important for safety and other concerns and aesthetics. But we do want lighting. So I think this is a good move forward to get us up to modern technology. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else in favor? Okay. Anyone oppose? Okay. With that, I declare the public hearing comment portion closed. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the commissioners for any questions. Commissioner Hamner, start to my left.
No questions.
Commissioner Halverson, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Kriz, any questions?
I have a question of our resident expert, Commissioner Halverson. The last red line sentence here, does that encapsulate your lighting, color, temperature issue that you brought forth the last time? Because I remember you saying that like similar fixtures in similar purposes.
So that's different, right? So
Yeah.
you can have a bunch of different lighting typologies, in other words, different types of fixtures, but all of them can be set at the same color temperature.
Okay, so it doesn't, because as long, so
Yeah.
so you're satisfied with
Yeah.
this. Okay, great. No further questions.
Okay, good. Commissioner Allen, any questions?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Gant? any
Just
questions?
one question of clarification. Is this applied to commercial properties
Yes,
only?
sir. Commercial and industrial.
And industrial?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Gant, any comments? No?
No.
Commissioner Allen,
No
comments?
comments.
Commissioner Kriz?
Nope.
Commissioner Halverson? No? Commissioner Hamner?
This looks good.
And I'm just gonna echo that. I think it's good. I like how, it is preferred now that we have the LED, instead of not having that, so I think that's important, and I do like, as was discussed and brought up, the consistent colors, trying to keep the color temperatures all in a consistent fashion, so we don't have a spectrum of everything every which direction, so I think that's good. Okay, so, seems like we're all in agreement. So do we have a motion to recommend approval?
I'll move to recommend approval for the text amendment to the lighting ordinances, specifically section 731.2 of the Land Development Ordinance.
Okay, so we have a motion to recommend approval of the
Second.
text amendment. We have a second. Any other comments or questions? No? Okay. All those in favor of recommending the text amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Text amendment is recommended for approval. Okay. So we're completed with the public hearings. Any member or staff topics?
Not at this time, sir.
Okay. I know you did send out an email concerning the zoning classes.
Mm-hmm.
So that, like I said, I've taken zoning 101. It is a great class. I took that over the pandemic at that time with our chairperson, Commissioner Frank DeStadio. And even doing it online was very good. We actually had some questions that came up that we actually experienced on basically a recusal of a commissioner that had a vested interest, I would say, in a certain property at that time. So, we actually used what we learned in 101, part of one of the questions and discussions, to go ahead and have that discussion with them, and they recused themselves from at least the discussion and the voting, which was actually good. So it is a very good class. So if you have an opportunity to take it, please do so. I think there's a couple 101s coming up in.
April is one. I think we see one in March.
Yeah.
There were different times.
Right.
Right now, the latter ones of I believe 4 and 5 are being offered now.
Okay.
But the, I guess 1, 2, and 3 have different dates than we are offering right now or hearing right now.
Yeah. And for those who haven't had 101, if you're able to go ahead and take it, it's
Agreed.
good. And like I said, I'm definitely looking, at some point in time to go ahead and look at 102.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep. Okay, good. Okay, any other items? Anything from the commissioners? No? Okay, let's see, February 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have anything in particular that we might want to be aware of at this time?
So far, just the parking
Just the parking?
discussion.
Okay.
For that to March.
Yes, the first March meeting, March 9th, will be kind of stacked.
Yeah, so there's a number of items for the March 9th, but there's nothing on the schedule for the next meeting on the 23rd.
I'm sorry, that's right, we moved that to March 23rd, didn't we?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yes, we don't have anything for February
Should we move
23rd.
to cancel the February 23rd meeting?
I think the deadline we've already probably already passed for this particular meeting for the 23rd. We like to put items on the agenda by a certain time, so if that's the case, then yes. We don't have anything for you at this time, if you
Okay.
wish.
And we don't have a UDO, or do we?
Do we have anything?
You mentioned at the last meeting you wanted to wait until the 9th,
That's correct.
and we would then have 2 meetings for the UDO in the month of March.
Yes,
Correct.
that is correct. Because, yeah, we're going to get the RFPs back, and we're going to have some discussions around those.
Okay.
I know that we did talk about native plants as something that we're going to follow up on. I want to say that we had bumped that conversation to either the first or second meeting in March. And let me say this, if we want to cancel the second meeting in February, that's fine. But we could move it up if that's a lighter meeting for us and have it the second meeting in February. So that way, again, it sounds like March is going to be really busy.
That would take a load off of March.
It's fine
Sure.
with me. Yeah, it's fine
Yep.
with me.
Yep.
Everyone good with that? Because I mean, right now, you're of course everyone plans to be here for the 23rd unless we cancel. So
So will we be ready for that discussion on the 23rd?
So
Is
the
there any
conversation on
step?
the 23rd is going to be remember, we said that we proposed a whole lot of ideas.
Yeah.
My plan is to come to you guys with an overview of all those ideas, at least my take on the pros and cons on those as well, and for us to ideally find a way for us to move forward on
Yeah.
that. And again, I know that there's a suggestion also that is going to be emailed as well that I think is really good. I've thought about it a few times. I won't spoil it because he'll be able to explain it better than me. But it's a good idea, I think.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's fine with
do
me.
we
Yeah, so-
do we need anyone else from staff aside? Do we need Mr. Warner? Do we need anyone else to that extent?
I don't think so. Again, we've had comments from city staff
Okay.
already that was done over email, and we've incorporated those. And
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Just wanted to make sure because now would be the time to go ahead and if we needed to, but if we don't need to, then that's fine.
yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. Good. Okay.
I did
Well,
have,
it sounds.
I did have one question
yeah,
about
absolutely.
the RFP process, because I read through it again today, and tomorrow it closes,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's question and answer.
Mm-hmm.
Who's answering the questions? You are.
I am.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because she has free time.
It's in good hands. I just wanted to make
Thank
sure that at least if you weren't handling it, that you were comfortable with who was.
Yes, sir. The procurement team did mention, we're trying to figure out the scoring component for the group. I will say there's been a lot of conversation around it because the city's policy is typically that procurement is silent until being announced by council. So there's a moment of confidentiality that has to remain. So, and that's just because for the respect of all bidders, we have to be
Mhm.
careful with that. And so I will say that I am in conversation to see how that could work. So I will reach out as chairperson. I'll reach out to you to give you the insight on that so that for the UDO steering committee, you can inform the group how that will go. Because I want to ensure that we're keeping you involved in the process as
Sure.
a steering committee. But I just want to figure out how we can ensure that the city's rules and regulations are being met at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. That sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, commissioners? Anything else from staff? No? Okay.
Move to adjourn.
So we have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.